Parental alienation. We are now in chapter 20. Chapter 20 is the second chapter in part 7 that focuses on the grand importance of self-love here. Of course, there is a grand importance of self-love everywhere, every day, in every person, in every situation. But here, it is even a kind of a rescue tool. We must cultivate self-love if we want to survive parental alienation, if we want to remain strong, if we want to remain stable, present, and significant parents. And it is important to put an emphasis on this because many times this part of the coping arsenal, this part is missing. We can be drawn, we can be pulled into the drama so strongly. We can even get kind of addicted to the drama, to the anger, to the frustration, to what I referred before, the fact that something was stolen from us. Yes, this is truth. This is what really happened. Yet, if we put too much energy over there, we may forget to make the vital investment in the person who is so important here for us and for our children, ourselves. So bad things happened. There are many reasons to be worried. There are many reasons to be in pain in such situation. There is a great loss here. But if we fail to put a stop when it is too much, if we fail to nurture ourselves, to take care of ourselves, to do all we can to cultivate happiness inside us, no matter what, to cultivate hope and some sort of optimism, then it will be very hard for us to create a vision and sustain walking the path towards that vision of assisting our children to get back to us, or at least to get closer to us. It is a part of the strategy to increase self-love, a part of the strategy. It's not just a recommendation, it's a must. The problem is that some people, without having enough knowledge about self-love, about what self-love really is, oppose such tool, oppose such practice. They confuse self-love with narcissism. They confuse self-love with people who only think about themselves. And self-love is nothing about narcissism, and is nothing about forgetting other people for the benefit of yours. No. Self-love is respect and appreciation and support to you, by you, because you need it, because we all need it. Especially when things are being taken from us, especially when these things are little children. And whenever they are in touch with us, They need us as grown-ups who love themselves. Because the crisis is not only yours, I'm sure you know. And yes, you suffer tremendous crisis, but the crisis is also theirs. Even if they act, strongly against you, even if they act as if everything is fantastic with the other parent and they don't need you, it's a kind of a lie. They need you. They need both parents always. And if one of the parents has become in their mind into an object that they must hate, they must avoid, they must alienate, it means that they are suffering. They are in a continuous crisis. They don't get what they need for their physical and emotional growth. The presence of both parents. So, remember, they need you to be as a whole as possible, as stable as possible, as connected to yourself as possible, as optimistic as possible, but not that you will make an act to make them think as if you are in this situation. You really need to be there, and you will be there only if you practice self-love. If you improve the language you use to address yourself, if you smile to the mirror more often, hopefully always, if you prevent yourself from engaging in situations that harm you, if you are generous toward yourself, if you buy yourself gifts, if you rest enough, if you do the things that you like, that makes you happy, make you happy. And after all this long introduction, I would like also to add the things that are specific to this chapter, chapter 20, that also tells us that self-love will help you stop and reduce self-accusation. Many times, as caring parents, as loving parents, we take the blame. We accuse ourselves, even if there was no, even if we couldn't prevent the whole thing from happening. And you know that beyond this, we all make mistakes. You cannot be a parent if you're not ready to make mistakes. But the problem is that many times, as sensitive and caring parents, we accuse ourselves too much, in a very exaggerated way, when we make mistakes or when negative things happen to our children, even if we weren't able to stop them. And then we get into a vicious cycle of self-accusation, self-criticism, self-hurt, self-pity, and then we get to anger and to bad responses in many situations of frustration, etc. The only thing that can help us get out of this vicious cycle, and we must get out of this vicious cycle, so we will have a better quality of life inside us and also in the communication with our children, what will help us get out of there, of this vicious cycle, of this negative pattern of thought, is self-love, self-appreciation, self-respect. We need to remind ourselves over and over again, although it is so hard to internalize this, there is a limit for how we could prevent these things to happen. And although you may feel that logically this is correct. Emotionally, it's hard for us to stop this self-accusation, or at least to reduce self-accusation and guilt feelings. A huge part of the pain related to parental alienation is made of guilt feelings, made of self-accusation. And you may had unnecessary fights with your ex, husband or wife. You may have been involved in a situation that you regret that your children witnessed in the past. You may have done this differently now that you are more clever, more experienced. And when you realize the price of this harmonic divorce, you may have even considered choosing a different partner to marry and to have your children. Yes, we are all, after we become experienced, we are all clever after act and believe that we could do things better. And from this kind of thought, we soon come to self-accusation, to self-criticism, to overwhelming regret. And after a certain point, this thing has to be stopped, has to be controlled. I'm saying as a strategy, because if you don't stop it, you don't have much of future for them and for you. You cannot prepare new reality for them. You cannot create the miracle of restoring the family atmosphere with your children. But if you practice self-love, if you sense love in you, if you live the love in you, this love will comfort you. This love will put things in perspective. No, you couldn't choose a different partner because at that time, this was the right partner for you that time. You may have been in love with this partner that time. You couldn't know, you couldn't foresee. Although now you may say, oh, I had all these signs, red flags, yes. But you couldn't see because you weren't mature enough back then. And she or him couldn't be also mature enough to say, no, it may not be a good idea for us to create a family together. All you got left with currently is the ability to love yourself. From self-love, you will be able one day to put all things together, to see the good things that you have had with your family, to forgive yourself for your mistakes, and most important, from this new ground that is fertilized with self-love, to create new kind of reality that wasn't here before, that will enable your children gradually to get closer to you and will enable you to create the right state of mind, the new state of mind, that will allow this change to take place. And this change is possible, is a part of the potential. But we need you to make your contribution for this change. So I want you to stop now all other things. Again, I'm asking you, go to the mirror, give there a big smile. Keep that smile for 30 seconds. Do some good things for you in the coming days. Pay attention to the language you use towards yourself. You may hug yourself. Rest a little more and remember, your children need you loving yourself, appreciating yourself, because the more you love and appreciate yourself, the more they are encouraged to do exactly the same towards you and eventually also towards themselves.